now. Get the care you need and protect your family. Hillsborough County is offering free coronavirus testing and no health insurance is needed. It costs you nothing to get tested. Visit hcflgov.net/stay safe for more information and have a reservation made today. Share this with a neighbor and let's come together as a community and keep fighting to get through this. Together, we will come back stronger. God bless.
It popped up as you scheduled the appointment. It kept saying, schedule your appointment.
Oh, really?
Okay, well, I'm trying to and it wasn't until they actually scheduled the appointment, so.
Oh.
Hello, I'm WWE superstar Titus O'Neil, and today I'm coming to you as a neighbor. You owe it to yourself and those you love to get tested now. Get the care you need and protect your family. Hillsborough County is offering free coronavirus testing and no health insurance is needed. It costs you nothing to get tested. Visit hcflgov.net/stay safe for more information and have a reservation made today. Share this with a neighbor and let's come together as a community and keep fighting to get through this. Together, we will come back stronger. God bless.
Is your local business or organization looking to give back to the community? Help keep our roads clean by joining the Adopt a Road program administered by Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful. Keeping our roads clean is a great way for team building as well as exposure for your business. Select the road your business wants to adopt and dispatch a team to remove litter and debris. Participants will receive 2 signs showing their organization's name as well as safety equipment and instructions for cleaning roads. You can help keep Tampa Bay beautiful by adopting your own road today. To learn more, visit hcflgov.net/cleanhc.
20 seconds is all it takes for a toddler to drown. In less time than it takes to post on social media or change the laundry, a child can slip out a door and silently drown. Nearly all the children who drowned last year in the Tampa Bay area were last seen inside their home. Visit PreventNeedlessDeaths.com right now to learn more about simple steps you can take today to save a child's life.
Good morning, and welcome to this meeting of the HART Board of Directors. On May 3rd, for the record, 2021, the meeting format is hybrid with our quorum physically present at County Center, while some of the board members and others are participating virtually. We'll start with a Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag will be on your screens. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if staff will take attendance and establish a quorum. Ms. Arthur. We're ready for attendance. Looks like we're having just a little bit of technical difficulty. We need to get a live mic to take the roll call.
Oh, we were gonna be right on time.
Sorry about that. This is Danielle from HART. Director Castor,
Here.
Director Frazier, Director Hudson,
Here.
Director Johnson,
Here.
Director Kemp,
Here.
Director Knight, Director McLean,
Here.
Director Myers,
Here.
Director Overman,
Here.
Director Schisler,
Here.
Chair Smith,
Here.
Director Vieira,
Here.
Director Williams. And as you stated, you do have a chair, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Or a Madam Chair.
Thank you. And so that takes us to the approval of the minutes. The item is approval of the minutes for the April 5th, 2021
So moved.
regular meeting.
Second.
Got a motion to approve by Councilman Schisler, second by Commissioner Overman. Let's take a roll call vote.
Director Castor,
Yes.
Director Frazier, Director Hudson,
Yes.
Director Johnson,
Yes.
Director Kemp,
Yes.
Director Knight, Director McLean, Director Myers,
Yes.
Director Overman,
Yes.
Director Schisler,
Yes.
Chair Smith,
Yes.
Director Vieira,
Yes.
Director Williams. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll have public input on the agenda items. We do have one member of the public signed up for a comment this morning. So Ms. Mandel, HART General Counsel, tell us all we need to know about the rules for public participation, please.
Certainly, and good morning to everybody. The board welcomes public comment about any issues and concerns and has made provisions to allow for virtual public comment. Public comments offered virtually will be afforded equal consideration as if they were offered in person. Anyone wanting to provide public comment for any HART committee or board meeting should contact Danielle Arthur, Board Administrator, at arthurd@gohart.org, arthurd@gohart.org, or at 813-955-2426 with your name and phone number for pre-registration. Comments are due by 5 p.m. the day of the previous meeting. Staff will call on speakers by name in the order in which registrations were received. All callers will be muted upon calling and unmuted in the submission order after being recognized by name. Please state your full name, organization, and address if desired. Up to 3 minutes are allowed for each speaker, and the speaker will be muted once time is up. I do understand we do have speakers who would like to speak today, so staff, if you could proceed to allow the speakers to continue.
And each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. I understand we have one speaker this morning, Ms. Karen Kress.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Karen Kress. I'm with the Tampa Downtown Partnership. I'll be very brief. As you know, operations for the Downtowner Shuttle Program, the partnership incubated 5 years ago, ceased operations on April 30th. On today's agenda is a simple request to extend the contract that we currently have with HART 1 additional month through the end of April at no financial cost to HART. We understand that HART staff is working on a circulator program to benefit the downtown community, and the partnership fully supports HART's efforts. We look forward to working with HART staff and board to help find a service that will complement a multimodal program for downtown. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kress. Good to see you. So I understand there's no other public comment. Ms. Arthur, is that correct? Thank you. Okay, so we'll move to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Myers, second by Director Hudson. And let's take a roll call vote.
Director Castor,
Yes.
Director Hudson,
Yes.
Director Johnson,
Yes.
Director Kemp,
Yes.
Director Myers,
Yes.
Director Overman,
Yes.
Director Schisler,
Yes.
Chair Smith,
Yes.
Director Frazier, Director Frazier,
Yes.
thank you. Director Knight, Director McLean,
Yes.
Director Vieira,
Yes.
Director Williams. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, Director Knight, is that you?
Yes, yes, Director Knight, and I'm in the meeting.
Thank you so much.
Good morning.
If we could just ask everyone virtually to please mute their microphones when they're not speaking, that will help with any feedback issues. Thank you.
Thank you. So, item 5 is our action items. We have 2 related action items today that were reviewed by the Finance and Audit Committee and advanced to the full board for further review. So at this point, I'll recognize Linda Crescentini, Interim Chief Financial Officer, to introduce these items to us. Good morning, Ms. Crescentini.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Smith.
Good morning.
There wasn't a microphone, so sorry.
That's all right.
And members of the board, Linda Crescentini, I'm the Director of the Project Management Office. And the next 2 items before you are related to the Regional Fare Collection System. The first is to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to execute a modification to the existing contract within it to extend the contract for a period of 1 year. This will take us through June 1st of 2022 to be able to complete the implementation of the new enhancements of the Flamingo project. Any questions?
No?
Move approval.
Seeing none?
Second.
I'm sorry, who moved approval?
Move approval, Commissioner
Okay.
Overman.
And Ms. Mandel, can we take a single motion to approve both of these?
Because they're separate resolutions, I would recommend that you take 2 separate actions on them for the purposes of the minutes.
Thank you. So we'll do item 5A, Resolution 2021, in the first place. And,
She made the motion.
okay,
I second.
thank you.
Myers second.
Commissioner Overman moved approval with second by Commissioner Myers. Roll call vote?
I
Oh,
had
sorry,
one comment.
Commissioner Kemp,
That's
I
okay,
see
I had
your
trouble
hand.
putting my hand up.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask about, I know at the time when we had some discussion during the Finance Committee meeting, that originally in the contract 5 years ago that was made, the agreement that was made, it had a first-year operating agreement that was, even though it was several counties and other jurisdictions, that HART would pay the entire first-year operating agreement, which, if someone can state how much that was it, I think it was something close to $1 million.
That's correct. The first year of operation and maintenance is 1.3 million.
And at the committee meeting, I stated that I felt that that was why we should take a burden for the entire operating costs for the first year, when that is a very big burden for HART and with the struggles, financial struggles we're having. So I had asked at that time that we look at renegotiating that, perhaps even, I honestly, I thought about the additional money that FDOT will not be using without the downtowner, or something like that to take that burden off, or somehow have it be a shared burden by all the users of it, some kind of pro rata burden. And I think there's also not any, at this time, it just didn't speak to any agreement after the first year, which concerned me as well. So I just wanted to know that, you know, how that was being, I wanted the board to know about that, and I wanted to understand how that's being followed up on at this time.
Good question.
So yes, yes, Commissioner Kemp, we understand your concern, and we will be having conversations with our partners to see what opportunities there are, and we will bring that back to you during the next month or two once those conversations can make progress.
And if I may add, thank you, Ms. Crescentini. I did follow up from our committee meeting and had a meeting with Brad Miller, the CEO of PSTA. He and I have also agreed that we're going to have another meeting and bring in the head of Pasco Transit so that the three of us can sit and look at a couple of things. So what's on our action items are, one, to understand what we must do based on grant requirements or any expectations that were associated with receiving the monies that we received thus far. And then two, really having an assessment of how this technology is working for each of the agencies, and how much of the process of the program or the tool do we actually need to implement. And then third, identifying if we want to go in a different direction, what that looks like, but still allowing us to do the things that we must do. Overall, the conversation with Mr. Miller went really well, and he's on the same page, I would say, with us as far as this project started a very long time ago. So what was a new and exciting technology 6 years ago is not as new nor as exciting as it is today. So the question is, how do we address that? How do we modify it so that it can be this, the product that the community needs? So that's what we're working on, and our intention is to be able to get back to you within the next 2 months or so with an action item or a way forward with this program.
Can I just, to clarify, ask also, so it's Pasco, Pinellas, Hillsborough. Is it also Sarasota?
It's also Sarasota, but I think they have a very small, I guess they've been contributing to the process at a minimal, I would say, engagement. So for this first phase, as far as really assessing what the way forward could look like, we're going to start with the three of us since we've been the most engaged. And then once we get to a point, we'll bring everybody in.
Are there also any other partners besides those four?
Yes,
Those are the only four that.
Hernando.
Okay.
Yes.
Hernando. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
And then also on the table, I did share with Brad that, the way the contract is written now, or the agreement is written now, that HART pays for the first year. So we also put on the table to revisit that, and maybe there's a way, if we are going to move forward, that all three split it equally, or however we can do it. So that's also something we're going to consider.
Mm-hmm. It seems very unfair to have us take that whole burden. Thank you.
Commissioner Overman, did I see your hand up?
Yes.
And let me just say,
Yes, ma'am.
we can use the hand-raising function since we're all having to be on WebEx for the hybrid meeting, and that'll make it a little bit easier for the people online as well as here to get in a queue. But Commissioner Overman?
Thank you, and I truly appreciate Ms. LeGrand's response to that question. It was good. I believe that as we work through this monitoring, if it's possible, which I would imagine it is, if the technology is working the way I think it's supposed to, monitoring ridership, I think, is critically important. But to your question, there are a lot of workers that live in Lakeland that come into Hillsborough County and back. So is Polk any part of this process, given there are workers that could possibly come back and forth from the east?
Well, Polk is not a partner today, but the system can be expanded to include them in the partnership.
Right, because I think there is some interest in the Lakeland area that might find a fruitful conversation. So. But I also do believe that monitoring the ridership source, where it starts and where it ends, it will offer a great deal of fruit in doing the analysis on how we develop a pro rata share program down the road. So I appreciate the feedback and look forward to seeing something over the next 3 to 6 months, so that we can take a look at what the ridership actually ends up, what the usage looks like, and if that starts developing a formula for the pro rata share. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Schisler, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to verify with council that approval of either of these resolutions today wouldn't hamper or preclude any changes that may result from the negotiations going forward.
Certainly, we can approve these, then move forward to either renegotiate or terminate, depending, or take some other action moving forward, but doing this doesn't preclude that action.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no other discussion, very good discussion. Thank you. Seeing no other discussion, we've got a motion on the floor to approve item 5A, Resolution 2021-521. Let's take a roll call vote.
Director Coster?
Yes.
Director Frazier? Okay. Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Chair Smith?
Yes.
Director Knight? Director Knight? Director McLean?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Vieira?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item 5B. Ms. Crescentini, do you have anything to add there?
No, the 5B is to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to execute a modification to the existing contract for the program management services with Clever Consulting Group in support of the Flamingo Fair project. And again, it's to extend the contract for a period of 1 year through June 1st of 2022.
Thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
Great. Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Overman, second by Commissioner Myers. Any board discussion? Seeing none, I'm assuming that this will all go through this similar analysis of the previous discussion, and we can take a roll call vote.
Director Coster?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Chair Smith?
Yes.
Director Frazier? Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McLean?
Yes.
Director Vieira?
He said yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Crescentini. Our next item is a presentation on HART properties developed by staff in response to requests by a couple of our board members. And I think this is going to be very interesting. Mr. Ronald Giroux, project manager, you're recognized.
Good morning, Board, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
My name is Ron Giroux. I'm project manager with HART, and this is a presentation on the properties that are currently owned by HART. This was a request made by the board back in February. Next slide, please. This is a map of the current county property and where the properties are located within the county. So you can use this as a reference. On this map are listed all the properties, both the ones we own and the ones that we operate or maintain through leases, agreements, or DRIs. Next slide, please. So this is 21st Avenue. This is our main campus. It's about 20 acres. It houses all of our maintenance, preventive maintenance, and park all of our vehicles.
It went off. You may want to move over there.
We're having a hard time getting live mics in the room, so just bear with us.
sure how to turn this on.
It's on.
Is it on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yes, this is our main campus. This is where we park all of our vehicles, where we maintain them, where they're fueled, where they're cleaned. There's some administrative functions in this building as well, and they're listed here for you to see. Next slide, please. You're all familiar with this building. This is our Ybor campus. This is also known as our streetcar barn, so all of our streetcar operations are out of this building here. We own the building, however, we lease the property from the city that it sits on. There are some administrative functions that are conducted out of this building, and they're listed there. Next slide, please. This is our flagship transit center. This is where the majority of our bus routes go to connect with other routes. You can see them all listed there. And this is our daily ridership numbers are also listed here. And those numbers are pre-COVID for all of you. Again, this is similar to Ybor. We own the building, but we lease the property that the building sits on from the city. The parking lot to the north, which is what all of our employees park at, is actually owned by FDOT, along with the properties to the east and west of that lot. And that's for the future intermodal that comes into that area with the high-speed rail if it ever comes into Tampa. That was the originally projected spot for it. Next slide, please. This is University Area Transit Center, and so this is our second transit center. A transit center versus a transfer center. Transit center offers customer service agents on site. They sell tickets. They deal with customer issues. They actually have representatives on the ground there. This is located just north of the VA hospital, and those are the routes that service this area with a rather high daily ridership on and off. Next slide, please. This is a Northwest Transfer Center. So buses come in here. Our customers transfer from one bus to another, but there is no customer service agent there. Our route supervisors do roll in and out of there on a regular basis to take care of customer problems if there are any, but generally there are no customer service agents here. Those are the routes that service it and our daily ridership numbers. We recently added a break room to this going on about a year and a half ago now for our drivers to have a place to take their breaks. Next slide, please. This is the Temple Terrace City Center Park and Ride. We've owned this since 1987. It only has one route right now that services it, and the ridership is somewhat low for this area, for this route, but it does offer us a potential to expand here in the future with additional routes. Next slide, please. This is our Hidden River Park and Ride. This is in the northern portion of the county near I-75 in Fletcher. There are really no amenities here. It's just a parking lot. The Route 33 services it, and we lease any additional extra spaces to the businesses around that area. Next slide, please. So this is the South County Service Center. We obtained this property back in 1999, and our route originally, the bus would have to go into this parking lot area, come off route to go into there to pick up customers, and then come back onto the route. We made an arrangement with the Hillsborough County tax collector to allow them to put a building on that site, and they built us 2 bus bays out on 30th Street, and very low ridership actually for this particular route, but it's just south of the Amazon Fulfillment Center in Ruskin, which has an extremely, or rather high ridership for that particular stop. It does offer us opportunities to expand in the future, though, as we know that area is getting developed. Next slide, please. This is the property that kind of started the whole discussion. This is our South 301 Park and Ride. We currently lease the northern parking lot to the Hillsborough County School District so that they can park buses down there. We're currently not using the site, and so there's no ridership to show you. But it does offer us the opportunity to continue to use this site in the future if we choose to bring back routes that we took away. Next slide, please. This is Casey Road property. It's centrally located in Carrollwood area. We've owned it since 1984, but we haven't used it since 1992. So there is no ridership to show. But it does offer us the opportunity to expand into that area if we ever wanted to increase routes. Next slide, please. Here's a list of all the other properties that we utilize. We don't own them, but we utilize them. We either have transfer stations, transfer centers there, or park and rides. And they're used through a lease, an agreement, or DRI, which is a development of regional impact, where the landowner or the developer entered into an agreement as part of their development to provide transportation services to the public to offset traffic or provide resources to the public. Their routes that service each of these are listed there along with their daily ridership numbers for your information. Each of these is also listed on that overall map if you wanted to know where they're located. And I believe that's it for my slides, pending your questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I've seen this a few times. It's really good to start to sink in all these places that, I had no idea that we owned all this property around the county. I may have missed something here. It just occurred to me when I was looking at it, and I saw the Carrollwood property. Do we have any property in Town and Country?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, because it just seems like a area of great service, so I'm a little surprised by that. But when I saw this, it just seemed like the one area that where we don't own property. Thanks.
No problem.
Thank you. Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you. And could you bring up this slide that shows the just overall all the locations? Yeah, there we go. Excellent. The reason I wanted to take a look at this as sort of as an overall scale is those of us that are on the Board of County Commission and those of us that are interested in affordable housing are really looking at the county as a whole to identify, how HART will grow. And land ownership is a very large piece of that process because we have not only on our legislative platform to buy land for a center, but then we also have land in a variety of places. And it does look like that we have, several properties in the east and southeast corner of the overall Hillsborough County that have potential, but they are primarily park and rides, if I understand it correctly. Is that
is correct.
Is that a correct? Okay. The orange color is really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But and the park and ride is great if we have the ridership in the area and we have the potential to grow in those particular areas. The reason I bring that up is I was able to participate in a workshop on Wednesday, and it mostly for listening purposes, that Steve Shoecraft, who is acting as the consultant for HART's transit-oriented development study that is actually just running up north-south, but from downtown up to the university area. But he brought up in the process of doing that work a great deal of opportunities and challenges that transit-oriented development faces when trying to intersect with affordable housing and how route management is operating. And recently we had, the county had a project that was challenged by transportation problems as a consequence of congestion on a route where HART does serve, but there's no TOD zoning associated with it. So, when we look at this land and we look at our surplus land, how it can facilitate adding routes, expanding routes, or tapping into ridership, I think it's important to keep that in mind when we look at opportunities to partner with the county for zoning purposes for creating transit-oriented development so that the limited resources we now have for affordable housing can be maximized. Thank you, the legislature. But I think that we have to keep an eye on that. And I'm looking forward to seeing Shoecraft's presentation on the TOD. But I think if you have time, those are online. I recommend all of the board members consider looking at the webinar as it's been pre-recorded. It gives you a very interesting perspective on how transit-oriented development offers opportunity, but also has challenges. And while we don't make zoning decisions here, HART does need to be part of that conversation because, as you mentioned, land that has been approved for zoning and density because there was going to be transit nearby, and yet there may or may not be a plan for transit to be there or be nearby. So we have to really look at that, I think, going forward, and make sure that HART is part of that zoning or that land use meeting, because if the county is approving projects with the idea that transit's going to be nearby and HART isn't part of that process, we're missing an opportunity to make sure that we're able to meet the needs of our citizens going forward. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Commissioner Overman. The webinar you were referring to, is that the Transit-Oriented Development group that just met? Yep, I have, that's on my to-do list.
Yes, ma'am. It was last Wednesday, and the focus was affordable housing, but it's as it intersects with transit-oriented development. So thank you very much.
And thank you for your comments. It's quite true that I think we need to get more specific and clear about some of these ideas we've had of where transit is going to go or where affordable housing needs to go, and be sure that they're actually, it's really practical and realistic to realize those visions, and we need to get on that right away. As I think you're referring to the Bloomingdale project, yeah. There's stuff coming at us right away that we have an opportunity to do it right or do it wrong. So thank you for your comments. Director Hudson, you're recognized.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Ron, thanks for the presentation. I just want two things. First, I think it would be great to make sure that the county and city staff, both Tampa and Temple Terrace, who handle real estate issues, Monica at the city's outstanding, and Anne Marie at the county, have this presentation to make sure that the left hand and the right hand know what they're doing in case there's any adjacencies with city or county properties. I know that the commissioners have done a great job of pushing affordable housing, and that starts with land. You look at a park and ride, there's no reason you can't keep a park and ride with surface parking, but put a building on top of it that can potentially house people. And then the second thing, it'd be helpful to know, I think, what the kind of comprehensive plan designation of some of these parcels are. This is kind of a moonshot idea, but one thing that I think Hillsborough County and the city of Tampa we can work on is a transferable development rights, TDRs. It's where you essentially sell the undeveloped density rights for a parcel. And you can think of a situation where even if a park and ride is going to stay as a surface lot, if it can support 100, 200, 300,000 square feet of development, that's an asset that HART could potentially sell and reinvest in the agency. So it would be helpful to know what you could do, I think, with these parcels as well. And I think the Melissa Leinhardt and Melissa Zornita at the Planning Commission could be pretty helpful with that. So that's all I got.
Thank you. And Director McLean, you're recognized. Oh, did you take your hand down?
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Yes, you're recognized.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Hey, Ron, great briefing. I just have two questions, and they focus on primary properties. The one is in Ruskin. If you can go to that Ruskin slide, I appreciate it. And there we are. And I think along with, there we go. Yeah, along with your thoughts, as I look at this slide and I think about the growth that's happening down in that region, I'm a little shocked, just like you are, where we don't see any ridership on and off in that lot. And I'm really wondering if it's just a communication issue with the public. We've had so much new growth down there. I wonder if people are aware it's there. So I guess my comment would be, how are we, or are we advertising these kind of openly with the public there, so they know that that opportunity is available for them to use while they ride on HART? And so that's my first question. And then the second question deals with, I think you showed one slide in Carrollwood of a vacant lot that you mentioned had been unused. There you go. Unused since 1992. Now, as I look at that lot and the community around it, it looks like the community has grown right around that lot, and it's all residential. And so my question is, number one, who do we lease that from? And is there a different use for that? And it could spark to Director Hudson's comments on how we use it differently. But that seems like we've held that piece of property for close near, if I'm not mistaken, about 30 years. Not used, and communities grown around, and it might be better used for the community. So, and I'll stop there, Ron. Good briefing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Giro?
In response to those questions? So with the South County at the South 301, that was a result of Mission Max, is why we no longer have routes there. But even before and the reason why it was no longer serviced after because of Mission Max, was because before we implemented Mission Max, the ridership number in that area it wasn't there. Previous to that, though, the developments around there were not there either. So, since that park and ride was developed, several housing developments and several, much more construction in that area has gone in. We haven't seen, and I'm speaking solely off of experience, and Dan Rodriguez is here as well. He has a much more greater knowledge as far as ridership numbers and bus stops, and he might be able to answer some of these questions. But we haven't seen a major push to bring those routes back, and that was through Chris Cochran and their planning studies that they've done about where can they bring back service and where should they bring back service. And so I don't want to speak to that because I don't have that breadth of knowledge, and I would maybe push that to Chris's corner, or we can ask Dan if he has some knowledge. But I know that when they decided to stop using that, it was because we didn't have any ridership there, even when we were trying to advertise it and get people to use that park and ride. So that's kind of why we abandoned it, because there's a lot of headway between the other parts of the route and getting into that lot and out of that lot. So it was a decision made long before I came on board here. So, and as far as the Casey Road property, we own that property, and I don't have any idea what the intention is for the future. I do know that it is an asset that we have. We can use it as a park and ride. We can use it as a parking area for our buses, or potentially another facility. But again, it goes into our greater plan of what do we want to do? Where do we see HART in the next 5, 10, 30 years? It definitely needs to be a consideration, but it's got to be part of that discussion.
Mr. McLean, does that answer your questions? Director McLean, does that answer your questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Giro and staff. This has been a very good presentation, and putting it together, as Commissioner Overman noted, with the color coding, the overall map, I think gives us a good foundation for the strategic plan and the next round of right sizing of our routes that we are going to be doing just in bringing forward in the next couple of months. Correct, Ms. LeGrand?
That is correct.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So I think this is really good information for all of us to begin picturing the whole county and having these discussions. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And now we'll have, seeing no further discussion on the property owned by HART, we'll have our legislative reports. Ms. Lorena Hardwick, Director of Government Relations, is going to give us highlights of the legislative activities. Also calling in board members are the members of the HART Legislative Support Team from Holland and Knight, and so they are available to answer any of your questions on our legislative agenda. Ms. Hardwick, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, board members. As Chair stated, Lorena Hardwick, Government Relations for HART. Just a couple of updates. On the state side. We are still monitoring the ARP dollars, the $2 billion that will be going to FDOT. And at this time, we're not sure how that funding will be integrated and how it will be utilized. TBARTA did receive their $1.5 million in the budget. At this time, again, it is something that we're not sure how that will impact the agencies. As we know, the work program is a very finite dollar amount. So we are working with FDOT and continuing those conversations to have a better understanding how that funding will flesh out. A good news was with the VW settlement from the DEP, the language that specifically stated that 20% of that settlement should go towards the school system for electrifying their buses did not make it into the implementing bill, which is a good thing, which produces or allows us for some flexibility, potentially being able to lobby and have those conversations at the state level to bring some funding for our buses, our diesel buses, and making those electric. On the federal side, the Senate is moving forward with community projects. With that said, 15 senators will not be participating in the process, including those 2 senators from Florida, Senator Rubio and Senator Scott. That by no means hinders our opportunities, what we've already submitted from the House side. And through the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill, we did submit 2 projects. As we had spoken before in the previous board, we are looking at our shelter replacement program. And the representatives did request that we do this process district-wide, per their district. So for Congressman Castor, we submitted for a replacement of 280 shelters for a total budget of 8.7, which equals out to about $6.9 million for the request, with a HART share of 1.7 mil. And then for Congressman Franklin's office,
It does seem as we've lost your microphone.
apologies. And for Congressman Franklin's office, Riverview, Brandon area, we did request 70 shelters, and that project cost is $4.6 million with a, I just lost my thing here, with a federal share for 4.6 and a HART share of 925,000. And as we said, Holland and Knight team is on the line to provide further commentary and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Fingers crossed. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. And just for the record, I'll put it on the record again. And so I want everybody here to be aware that over and over again, TBARTA has gotten, and I'm on the TBARTA board, their funding has come through earmarks, which again and again have been asked not to have earmark funding, because what has happened year after year is $1 million has been taken from HART and $1 million from PSTA to support TBARTA, which doesn't even provide service. So, and so again, we're probably facing that. So, and it's been taken from our operations center, which is desperately needed, and which is, for me, the #1 priority in the entire region. Because it is desperately needed if we ever want to do more bus service here. We don't have a place to even put those buses. So I just like to put that out there. I've objected to this again and again, and I expect that will happen again.
Thank you, Commissioner Kemp, and thank you for continuing to point out the big picture of our financial situation when we have a small amount of dollars to ask the state and legislature for. It is really important that we recognize this is not a bottomless pool. When we get money for one thing, we get less money for another thing. And when our dollars are so stretched and we are getting so few from the state, it is important to prioritize our needs in front of our wants and understand where the money is going. And with that, I see no other questions. Oh, Director Hudson, you're recognized.
Thanks. Sorry, I forgot to raise my hand. This is less a question than a request. In the administration's fact sheet about the infrastructure proposal, one of the things that was mentioned, and it was like a 45-page fact sheet, it's a long one, is the potential for a competitive grant program that would be targeted at jurisdictions that adopt innovative zoning policies to promote affordable housing. And I don't want this to turn into a city council or county commission meeting and just talking about zoning, but I think everyone here appreciates that our transportation crisis and our housing crisis mutually reinforce each other. And so I'm assuming HUD is going to write the regulations on that, but knowing how it can take some time to move zoning changes through a elected body, as you all well know, it would be helpful to know as soon as possible what they're looking for. I understand it's going to be kind of like Race to the Top, which was the Department of Education program. But if there are things that the Tampa and Hillsborough and Temple Terrace could be looking at doing to get ahead of that, to position themselves better, I think that would be great. And also being mindful of the state restrictions on how zoning regulations still need to, quote, make a developer whole, that there is a state component that we need to be mindful of. But anyways, it's a long way off. Who knows if it's even going to get in the bill. But that's something I think we should be prepared for, because it does affect what we do here with public transit. So thanks.
Thank you. Mayor Castor, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just want to recognize Congresswoman Kathy Castor and her submission of the project of close to $6 million for the bus shelters. That is a critically important item throughout the city of Tampa and out in the county. I know we're going to have a presentation on it in a minute, but I just don't think we can underscore the need for that. If people don't feel safe riding the buses, then we're never going to increase the ridership. And a lot of the bus stops are in pretty poor condition. So I think that is a great start. I also want to take just a second to recognize Lisa and her team at Holland and Knight. They really do an excellent job of representing HART's needs in Washington, D.C. That's it, Chair.
Thank you very much. And seeing no other questions, comments on our legislative matters, we will move to item 8, sole source procurement and one-time deviation with Mr. John Edmondson, Director of Procurement and Contracts. Mr. Edmondson, good morning. You're recognized.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. For the reporting period of March 2021, HART had no deviations from the requirements of the procurement manual to report on, and we had one sole source award to report on. That award was for $45,000 to the American Public Transit Association. APTA offers a very unique product in that they gather senior executive leaders from large transit agencies around the country to come in at request to your transit agency and do a strengths and weaknesses analysis in certain areas such as budget and finance planning, organizational culture, and then operations planning and readiness. The outcome of that product will be a roadmap for HART to follow to improve upon those strengths, and then to identify some industry best practices that we can begin to implement to help us improve our overall service delivery model. The HART team and senior leadership team has already been in contact with the APTA project managers for this project. They've already began to mobilize and already began to engage in their discovery process. That's the only sole source award that we had to report on. Barring any questions, that's all I have.
Thank you. Seeing no hands raised, we did discuss this at our last meeting, the APTA contract, and I think it is money well spent in this time of challenges and opportunities as we're shaping our visions for the future of transit in our community while pulling out of a pandemic and dealing with a severely limited budget, along with changes in leadership and management. I am very glad to see our CEO getting this expert peer review of the agency's organizations and plans for the way forward. The way forward will, of course, involve some change from the way things have been done in the past. And change is hard. Carrying any organization through any change, you will find there are always some people who would rather stick with the old ways and fight against any change rather than working together on a new way forward. But I know that for the most part, the good people of HART will find ways to work together through these times of change. And I have every confidence in our CEO to lead the way. And I think this contract with APTA is a very sound peer review to bring into that process. And so thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. LeGrand, for your leadership. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate those words. I think it was wonderful to bring in APTA. It makes me wonder why we never did it before. To really look over our processes and how we can most efficiently deploy what we have. But I think thank you, Ms. LeGrand. I think it's a great way for us to kind of get a idea of what we're doing here and how it compares and how we can best move forward. And I think it gives me a lot of confidence that it's this group evaluation. So I'm really pleased to have that. The other, I just wondered, I don't know, because I've seen this a lot of times and I get confused whether I've seen it at this board meeting. Have we seen the whole list? Have you put that whole list up before of everything at a board meeting? I know you have at committee meetings.
The list is actually included in your support documentation.
No, I know, but I think it's a really good thing to post it for a minute, and just so people can see all the board members, because not everybody gets a chance necessarily to go into their documents, particularly the public. So I think that's there we go. If that could just be blown up a little. I know at the time at different meetings I asked, and I just think it's a good idea to keep track of this for the public. And I know I had asked about particularly, something like trapeze software, just to understand a little bit about what it was. And I had asked about that because it's a pretty big expenditure for sole source, $320,000. If you could just explain that
absolutely
for the board.
Yes,
Thanks.
ma'am. The items that you see on that sole source awards list are, first of all of the awards that we've made the fiscal year to date. And each one of them is largely centered around the technology that we currently deploy at HART. Trapeze, for example, is the software that we use to help us schedule routes, to help us pull out in the morning, make sure that we have adequate staff to run those routes, et cetera, et cetera. It does a whole lot of other things that I'm not a subject matter expert on and can't go into great detail about. However, that is the software that we use to accomplish those core functions. And that fee that you see there is the annual user license and maintenance and support fee that we have to pay to Trapeze every year. The rest of those are all in that similar context. They are not necessarily new pieces of software that we've purchased throughout the fiscal year, but they are to continue to have access to the software platforms that we've purchased in years past to help various functions throughout the organization do what they do every year. That's annual user licenses for access, as well as maintenance and support and technical support services agreements with each one of those providers. As most folks know, when a software company develops a piece of software, they are the proprietary sellers of access to and support of that software, and that's what that list of sole source awards is for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And I know several of them are, at least two are Microsoft. And so anyway, I just think it's a good idea to have a picture of that.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no other hands raised on the sole source, thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you, ma'am.
Edmondson. Thanks for answering our questions. That brings us to the Chief Executive Officer's report, Mrs. Adelie LeGrand. Good morning. You're recognized.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And I have two updates to give this morning. One, I know I've presented to you in the past some of the collaborations and meetings that I've had, and those are continuing to blossom, I would say. I've had some follow-up conversations, and it's really been promising. Most of everyone that I've spoken to, really understands the value of public transportation and really wants to find a way that we can work together to help our community gain better access. I'm sure several of you are familiar with the job access study that was done by the partnership. Great data there if you haven't seen it. Really talking about the impact to the economy if we have better bus service. And typically people don't talk about bus service, right? Because it's not real sexy and it's not a train. But, if we could really invest in our core, I would say the skeletal frame of our system, which is bus service, we can definitely see a major impact to our economic environment here. So there's some really great work that's being conducted by folks who are not transit people. So it's not, you telling the story to sell your own product. It's other people telling the story, and it's been really great. But today I'd like to share that I've also engaged with another group of folks who've been super helpful, and that's the Tampa Police Department and the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department. And thank you to Mayor Castor for helping me to make these connections. But in those conversations, we are working and we are agreeing to develop some sort of program so we can partner together. So I did have the opportunity to talk with the Assistant Chief of the Tampa Police Department, as well as the Chief Deputy. If I'm messing this up, please. Okay, Chief Deputy, Ms. Donna Lazinski, to really talk about or initiate our conversation on how we can work together to really improve security in our system. In addition to that, staff is going after a Homeland Security grant that focuses on security within transit systems. And both TPD and the Sheriff's Department is going to work with us and support us in this initiative. And again, I just wanted to share that with you to signify that, again, it's not about us doing this work alone. It's partnering together and finding opportunities that collectively we can all benefit. Recognizing that all three of our agencies or departments have limited funding. We also, are looking to recruit more people to our organization. So we all have similar challenges, but we still recognize that working together will help us more so than working apart. So that's one. The second update, which I would say is probably the most exciting update that I can give during my tenure here, is that we've been working over the last couple of months to really determine the retroactivity payment for our ATU employees after the Supreme Court ruled that the surtax was unconstitutional. And I'm happy to announce today that after working with our negotiator, William Mosley, and going through the analysis and the financial model that his team has put together, HART is in a position to provide our ATU employees with their retroactivity pay and the wage increase. So as it's stated in their collective bargaining agreement, the retroactivity pay goes back to May 1st of 2020, and then it also includes the wage increases that are printed in their collective bargaining agreement. So I just wanted to announce again publicly that we are moving forward. Since we are not coming to you stating that we don't have the funds, we don't need a board action. However, I did think it was important to present it today. And then lastly, I want to thank the union for being patient. To wait since May of 2020 for a determination on how you're going to get paid is difficult. To do that during a pandemic and you didn't know a pandemic was coming is also difficult. To have a new CEO talk about it, but you don't see any action is difficult. And I recognize that they've been extremely patient. I don't want them to think I've taken it lightly. And I want to thank Ms. Letitia Jones and the ATU leadership for holding my feet to the fire, but also being patient enough to allow me to, do the due diligence, get the analysis. Just because I didn't have good numbers initially didn't mean I was going to give up. I wanted to make sure that we had the credible information that will allow us to make the right decision. So again, thank you to everyone for giving me the opportunity to go through the process. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
I just want to jump up and down and clap. Honestly, I want to say thank you very much. An organization, honestly, is only as good as their people. And with the hard work that the HART employees that are on our front line, literally on our front line, over the last year, bringing this to back to the board, back to the employees, back to our operators and all of our union employees, I think is critically important. And is also dependent on getting that answer, I think sets the tone for how we move forward. And it will actually help, I think, in so many different ways that it's not obvious today. So I just really, truly want to say thank you for your hard work in bringing this forward and bringing it to the board, because I think at the end of the day, like I said, any organization is only as good as the people who work in it. And I appreciate that you appreciate that. So thank you very much for your work.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
I just also wanted to say, I think this is the most important thing that we do. Our operators are our first responders, they're our front line, and to think that they've gone so long without, they're, no matter what, underpaid for their services. And so I just think it's very, very important. They're out there every day. It's just amazing. I think sometimes the work that's done besides driving a bus, how they deal with customers and needs. And it's just extremely important that we begin to appropriately give compensation for the incredible work that they do. So I'm glad that you're responsive as well to that. That is certainly the vast majority of actually any transit agency, not just ours, is our operators and our bus services. And they deserve so much. This pandemic has been incredibly difficult on everyone, but actually because our service is so bare bones, we've had more transit riders in other communities across the country by, 20% or something. When they lost ridership, we didn't lose nearly as much because our service is so critical. So that's really good. I'm glad to see that they're going to see increase. And I hope we can continue to do that. I know I've heard Ms. LeGrand state that, and now too, with all these delivery services and with everything else, people can take jobs that require a lot less and a lot less paying for more compensation. So I'm really glad to see that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I can hear you, Director Knight on the line, but first is Mayor Castor, and then I'll get back to Director Knight.
Thank you, Chair. Our bus drivers certainly aren't underappreciated, but they have been undercompensated for quite some time. So I thank you, Ms. LeGrand, and also to recognize Letitia Jones with the ATU for working together to get this done. To say it and to do it are two different, in really two different worlds. And I know it took a great deal of work, and so thank you for getting this done. It is long overdue. And also, just to, again, I think, echo the entire board's thoughts that, our drivers were the ones that showed up day after day after day during the pandemic to ensure that everyone made it to the place they needed to be. So I thank each and every one of the individuals that are making it happen on a day-to-day basis, and echo the other board members in our collective appreciation for recognition and appreciation for what you do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Very well said. Director Knight.
Good morning again, and thank you for recognizing me. I, along with the rest of the board members, are very excited and appreciative that our CEO and leadership is able to get this done. We look forward to the time when it's signed, sealed, and delivered, and appreciate the first line of bus drivers and all that's going to be a part of this closure and waiting so long and being so dedicated. It really feel good. It's a great news, and thanks to everyone involved, and prayerfully that it'll work out and continue in the manner in which everybody are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Knight. And Ms. LeGrand, you have a lot of consensus here behind you with your presentation this morning, and I know we're all glad to hear that the negotiations are being settled favorably, a win-win for all our operators who have been so patient for so long and have been on our front lines throughout the pandemic. They've been our HART heroes in a lot of ways, and so we are all very happy to hear that those negotiations are proceeding fruitfully. Also, I'll just echo appreciation for the union's patience and willingness to work this out together. And Ms. Letitia Jones has also been an important part of that. So thank you very much. And seeing no other comments, I have nothing to report in the chair's report, and that takes us to item 11, Ms. Mandel with the General Counsel's report.
Yes, and good morning again. All of the board members were sent on Thursday, April 29, 2021, a settlement agreement and general release between claimant Carolyn House Stewart and HART. That is an agreement which was worked through by Cindy Townsend, who is on the phone or on the WebEx. If you have any questions regarding that agreement, we are requesting approval of that agreement by you today.
So moved, Commissioner Kemp.
I've got a motion to approve by Commissioner Kemp and a second by Commissioner Overman. We've all seen the settlement agreement in your email and in your packet this morning. Councilman Schisler.
Thank you.
Before you speak, Councilman Schisler, let me just remind everybody that this is a settlement negotiation that has been worked out between all parties, between the attorneys on all sides. And it was sent to us ahead of time so that we could have our questions answered ahead of time. I would just caution you about inadvertently getting into any legal matters here that have been so carefully negotiated by the attorneys on all sides. And that I'll remind you that the agreement has been reached by all parties with all attorneys. So
This is just a general question. I'll wait till after the vote.
yeah, you're recognized.
I can wait till after the vote.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Kemp, second by Commissioner Overman, and we'll take a roll call vote.
Director Castor?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Chair Smith?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Frazier? Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McLean?
Yes.
Director Vieira?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Schisler. Did you?
No, I'll withdraw my question.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mandel, is it?
And that is all I have for today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And thanks for all the attorneys' work on that matter. As always, board members, you have some reports provided in your packet. And this is the time where we get to ask for old business or new business or anything that the board members want to discuss. Looking backwards, moving forward, seeing none. This concludes our business and we're adjourned. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.
Crossing in the